Hello and welcome to this podcast on behalf of the BeFlex project. The overall objective is to support employers and employees develop the skills to respond to rapidly changing work environments. This podcast looks at the results from a focus group of UK companies on the skills they identified as most important to manage change. We will share the strategies and tools they used in an online toolkit. During a number of workshops with employers and employees from a range of organisations, we asked them to identify which of the following skills were most important to them in today's workplace. Resistance to change, time management, emotional management, motivation, adaptation, coaching, and decision-making. Participants identified time management and motivation as the most important skills for them. Time management was an important issue for most people. They felt that because of smartphones, everyone is online with access to work messages and emails, and there is an expectation that you should respond even outside of normal office hours. That's because the smartphone can show when a message has been read, which makes it more difficult to ignore. People used a variety of ways to manage their time. Some said that with their smartphones they set a time limit and then after that time would not read or respond to messages. This meant they had some sort of control over feeling pressurised to be in contact with the office outside of working hours. Other people dedicated time during the week when they wouldn't take interruptions from telephone calls or people just dropping into the office to discuss something. Maybe a morning or an afternoon, so they could concentrate fully on whatever they needed to do. Electronic calendars were a really popular way to manage time, making lists in order of priority. Some people colour-coded them, but most people started and ended their day checking the tasks and then organising themselves for the next day. Other people liked to use a wall calendar so they could see very easily the tasks and the deadlines for the day, the week, the month, the year ahead. Everyone agreed that managing time is really important, and particularly for work-life balance, and that is really difficult when we're all online and we're all accessible 24 hours a day. But try to set realistic deadlines, try to spread work more evenly amongst your team, and to be aware that when people are stressed, it really impacts on your health. So the other important skill that they highlighted was important was motivation. Motivation within the workplace falls into two areas. First of all, self-motivation, and secondly, how to motivate others. Self-motivation is easier because you know what you need to do or what to ask for to be motivated. However, motivating others seems to be a major issue, and especially among younger employees. There seems to be an attitude of entitlement to have more interesting work without really understanding the role fully. Traditional methods of increasing salary or promoting someone to a more senior position don't seem to motivate people in the same way they used to. Motivation is really an important factor because a positive attitude leads to an enjoyable, stress-free and creative workplace. Most participants felt that motivation had to come from the person. If a person is not self-motivated, then it's very difficult to change their attitude. Generally, people are motivated because they get job satisfaction from the work they do. It's really important that they get support from management and colleagues, and it's especially important that everyone does their fair share of the work. So the opposite of all of these factors then leads to lack of motivation. If a person is in a job they don't enjoy, where their skills and abilities are not recognised, or if work is not distributed fairly within the team, or some members of the team don't deliver tasks on time and there are no consequences. A number of companies were exploring different ways of motivating people, so using alternatives to increasing salary or promoting people to more senior positions. Some of these different ways of motivating people meant giving them control over how they worked, letting people work longer hours during the week so they could have a Monday and or a Friday off, or just ignoring hours totally and measuring people on the output and achievement of tasks. It seems the normal 9 to 5 working in an office is no longer what people want, And this has been enabled by technology, which means if you have a computer, you can work anywhere, but also by COVID, showing that in some instances, and particularly in office work, you don't need to be present to achieve your work. Next, we looked at some of the other skills like resistance to change, emotional management, adaptation, coaching, and decision making. These were recognized as important skills, but not as important to the particular group that we worked with as time management and motivation. Change is really part of everyday working life. It's important to take time to process change, to get as much information as possible about the change and how it will impact on you and the work that you do. For this, it's important to hold meetings with staff and managers so that people have an opportunity to ask questions and be clear about what the change means. For emotional management, people stress the importance of being self-aware and how to self-regulate, to understand how you're responding to things emotionally, to take time to calm down and then respond rationally. To do this, you step away from the situation, take a break, then come back when you're calmer, or postpone any decisions until 24 hours later, so sleep on it. Some people recommended taking tests such as Myers-Briggs personality test or reading books such as The 4 Personality Colours. It helps you understand yourself emotionally, and it also helps you understand other people and how to manage their emotions. For adaptation, people believe that self-awareness, as well as an awareness of others, is important to be able to adapt to how you work with people. This is done by checking your own behaviour and assessing how appropriate it is to the situation and asking if you need to adjust anything to adapt to how you work with others. Being adaptive to change is also connected to motivation. If you are motivated, you have a positive attitude that accepts that change is inevitable and you will find ways to adapt rather than work against it. Others felt that some people by personality are more flexible and adaptive in their attitude. They enjoy finding new ways to do things and it makes their work more varied and interesting. And finally, coaching and decision making. People mentioned specific strategies here, such as personal-centered time. This is where a time is allocated each month for a manager and employee to meet to review how they are coping with tasks, both practically and emotionally. They have an open, honest, and confidential meeting to discuss any issues that impact from both sides to find a resolution. Another was the sandwich. This provides feedback between the manager and the employee on what was working and what is not working, with positive feedback either side of constructive criticism. That summarizes the feedback from workshops where we looked at resistance to change, time management, emotional management, motivation, adaptation, coaching, and decision making, where the companies identified time management and motivation as some of the most important skills in today's workplace. Thank you for listening.